One of the things that I've noticed over my career is there's a lot of misunderstanding of your percentages of gas versus your percentages of LEL. I know it sounds confusing, especially for the younger firefighter that's not been on a lot of runs and maybe hasn't carried monitors in their hand. So I'm going to utilize this box and try and explain how these numbers come about. So we're all taught that there's an explosive limit between 5 and 15%. That's the number that generally we use. I actually believe it's 4 point something to 14 something, but we just use 5 to 15%. And if we were to simulate that these wires here are your gas piping coming into your house and a leak is created, natural gas being lighter than air, it's going to rise up to and start filling that occupancy, that room. In this case, it's an open box. And as that gas starts to fill up and it starts banking down, much like smoke does in a fire, when you get a mixture of 5% natural gas and 95% air, that's when you enter into the explosive limit. We're going to simulate that this is gas piping going into a structure. And as a leak occurs, gas being lighter than air, the specific of gravity, causes it to rise, it'll begin to bank down, just like smoke, just like we see in a fire situation. But that gas will start to fill up this room. And as that continues to fill up, you get to that 15%, and you are now entering into the upper explosive limit to where if it continues to fill up, it becomes too rich to burn. There's not enough oxygen in there. And where it really becomes a hazard for us in the fire service is particularly in the wintertime or really any time. We don't know how much gas we have in that structure. And many times we'll be asked to come force entry for the gas company so they could go in and check things out. And if it's the winter time and you come in and you open this door and you allow fresh air into that structure and you start adding oxygen and all of a sudden it starts going back down again, it enters back into that explosive limit, particularly in the wintertime when furnaces are set at 68 degrees and you allow that cold air to come in there. And typically the thermostats, I know most of the homes I've owned aren't far from the front door, probably 15 or 20 feet. And then now you call for heat and that furnace kicks on, which could give you an ignition source depending on the level. So the thing that I want you to fully understand is that these numbers do get confusing. It's 5 to 15% explosive limit, but understand most monitors, all the monitors I've ever dealt with only read up to that 5%. It's not going to tell you you're at 5%. It's going to tell you you're at 100%. And if it tells you 50, you're at 50%, which is halfway to 100, which is the explosive limit. So now you know you're halfway to the explosive limit at 50. Now, Jerry explained to you that at 10% per OSHA, you're going to get your first alarm. At 20%, you're going to get your second alarm. And then again at 50%, you're going to get a high alarm. So the alarms mean something. And if you have a monitor that's alarming at 10% or 20%, Jerry referenced action marks or SOPs that have actions that you're supposed to take at certain levels. At 10% of the LEL, maybe your department decides it's immediate evacuation for everybody in the structure, including firefighters. As firefighters, our main mission is life safety. It's not to go out there and try and find and fix it and see what's leaking. We want to make the people in those residents or those businesses safe. We want to get ourselves out of there, get the gas company out there and let them figure out what's causing the problem. So hopefully that better helps you to understand. I know those numbers get confusing, but understand our monitors only read up to 5%. And at 5%, your monitor is going to be reading 100%. And the same token, if you have a monitor that reads in parts per million, 50,000 parts per million is the same as 100% LEL on most of the gas monitors. That's at 50,000 parts per million, you're at that explosive level again.